Good morning. How are you?
I'm amazing. What's it like having a hit of this size?
Oh, it's good, I suppose. It's been a few years since Matilda first kind of came into existence, so I've sort of got used to it, but it's sort of changed my life, really.
Because, well, it has. No, so let's work that through, because my understanding of you worked hard. You're one of those classic comedians who was looking to make ends meet, and you were struggling and striving and all of that sort of thing, then suddenly, bang, smash hit.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, it sort of went, it's a bit wobbly in my path in that, because all through my 20s I was just playing in bands, but writing music for theatre and that sort of thing. Comedy came really late to me. I didn't start doing comedy till I was 29, and actually I only really did it for 5 or 6 years, but that's how I got known, especially in the UK. And then somewhere in the middle of that period of my comedy career taking off, I got asked to write Matilda, because obviously my main thing is songwriting. And then that sort of happened in parallel, and really, I've now drifted back towards writing music for theatre and writing music for film and acting as my main thing.
How did it change your life? Obviously, it paid the bills.
Yeah, well, that makes a big difference, but also it reopened the door into this world, into theatre and stuff. I mean, I love doing comedy, but being a small part of something as intricate and crafted as musical theatre's got a whole different level of satisfaction.
Because in starting as you did, you started relatively young with the musical theatre, didn't you? You were a teenager when you were,
Yeah, when I started writing for theatre, I was really young, and I mean, comedy's been the thing that totally changed my life. But it's quite weird, because in my head, I'm not a comedian. That was just a sort of digression.
So, what are the parents saying when you're sitting there going, "Well, I'm going to write musical theatre"?
Oh yeah. Well, when I first got asked, this sort of mentor of mine, Jenny Davis, who is a theatre director in Perth, was directing youth theatre, and she wrote me a letter, which I still have handwritten, saying, "Tim, would you write some songs for us for this musical version of Love's Labour's Lost that we're doing?" And I showed it to my mum, because I was only 17 at the time, and she went, "But do they know you don't know how to write music?" And I went, "Well, I don't know, I can bash out some songs." My folks have always been incredibly supportive, but always worried. Mum always went, "Well, why don't you just go do your teaching degree, and then you'll have something to fall back on."
Exactly. And so did you ever doubt yourself?
Yeah, always, still, every day.
Oh, you're one of those. You're like you're an angsty artiste.
No, I'm not angsty. It's just that you should doubt yourself. If you think you have the right to be an artist and that the world needs your art, there's a chance you might be a genius, but it's more likely you're just deluded. I think you're only as good as the next thing you make, and you're only going to ever make something good as if you're scared you're going to make something bad, right?
But one of the great things about a thing like Matilda is that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have the ability to do it, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you could. I mean, it's a very genuine thought that Matilda, because it's Roald Dahl and because it suited my sensibility, and and the creative team on it was so incredible that it was kind of like a fluke. So my second musical's now gone to Broadway, and I don't know, we'll see how long it lasts.
It'll be a smash hit. But does that, well, I don't want to start psychoanalyzing you, but does the second musical, when it goes to Broadway, does it get there because of who you are, because of the first success, therefore you second guess yourself all over again?
Yeah, maybe, although if musicals take years to build, and if they're not any good, they don't get there. But I don't know. I think actually with artists, or maybe people in all fields, maybe sailors and rugby players, that you, when you're young and you're struggling, you learn to have a relationship with self-doubt, because you wake up some mornings when you're not employed thinking, well, it's probably just because I'm hopeless. And other mornings you think, no, I'm brilliant. The people just need to notice. And you get in that pattern of self-doubt, self-love, and it never goes away once you've developed it. It doesn't matter how much success you get. That pattern of, oh no, I think I'm pretty good, oh no, I'm an idiot, it just stays there. It's just in your neurology.
What's your relationship with Matilda in the various forms it takes over the years in the various parts of the world?
Well, it's a bit of a sadness, actually. I'm not really involved. I actually, my main involvement is I go to meet casts and go to opening nights, and I do this. I travel around wherever it's going to be and talk about it.
But you clip the ticket all the way along, though, surely. I mean, you're still clipping the ticket after all these years.
What's clipping the ticket?
Have you never heard clipping the ticket?
No, tell me that phrase.
Clipping the ticket is once you get a slice of the action.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're still paying the bills for you.
Yeah, well, it's my intellectual property. So I own the songs,
So it behooves you to turn up to opening night.
It does, and also I'm a part of a huge team. So I'm the songwriter, but there's hundreds of people that the production is very expensive to run, and so I'm part of how we make sure people keep going to see it. But the thing is, I can talk about it sort of cynically, but I would be faking it. I genuinely feel like the amazing thing for me about Matilda is that it has been commercially successful, but we didn't make it to be. We made it to be beautiful. And it employs all these people, and thousands of people a week, tens of thousands of people a week see this show. And especially for kids, but adults as well, and especially for young girls, it's this story of knowledge and stories and creativity and imagination and learning, and books being the way you get power, which is not necessarily the message that all art gives us at the moment.
Exactly.
And I'm so proud of it, and I love it. And these kids who play Matilda and the kids who play the rest of the kids, they just blow your mind. And there's been 70 Matildas already.
Well, I was going to say. And do you take a personal interest to the extent that you go, well, Barcelona wasn't quite as good as New York, and Adelaide let us down a bit? Or
Well, I have to be careful what I say publicly, because I can't be seen to favour one cast over the other. But I can say the Australia-New Zealand production, which you might think, with our little, inferiority complex we carry around with us down here, it is without a doubt as good as Broadway and the West End, and I would like to say it's better. I mean, they just get the humour of it, and the audiences in Australia and New Zealand get Roald Dahl better than the Americans. They get that dark and light, especially. I can't wait for it to come here, because I've done enough comedy here to know Kiwi audiences get that dark and light.
I might be literally making this up.
Yes.
But let me do it anyway. I believe that Roald Dahl is, in terms of sales, the highest level per head of population here than anywhere in the world.
Have
you heard that too? Or is this just fake news we're making up between us?
It just doesn't matter anymore. Who cares?
But that's why we get it, presumably. We like Roald Dahl to start with, don't we?
I think that's absolutely right. And it is, the Kiwi sense of humour is absolutely a sort of virtuosic dryness, and the way you guys in your humour sort of tread between dark and light. It manages to be gentle and bleak at the same time.
Yeah.
And that is Dahl. And it's actually how I made my name as a comedian, tiptoeing around that line between really dark and really silly.
You're very political in your comedy, aren't you? In terms of what was that thing you did with Cardinal Pell? The song you wrote about Cardinal Pell. I mean, that was, geez, that's right, sticking it right.
It
up
was
there.
pretty strong. I mean, I'm political in the sense that there are certain topics that make me upset, and part of my job as a satirist is to talk about them. I didn't like Pell all along because I'm a humanist, and I don't like people who tell women what they can do with their bodies, or gay people what they're allowed to do in their relationships, or Pell was a sort of, he didn't really understand evolution. I always thought he was not a good leader.
Just to explain to everybody, Cardinal Pell was the representative. He was, I think, third in the Catholic Church in Rome. He's an Australian. They wanted him back for investigations. So you wrote a song, and some of the money raised from that song, by the way, went to people to go over there, the victims to go over.
Yeah, all of it, every cent. With the survivors of child sexual abuse in the Catholic Church flew to Rome to see him give his testimony because he refused to come back on health grounds. Look, the song does presume the health grounds were not real, so it was pretty scary. But I get people stopping me on the street in Australia just bursting into tears. So I don't like. I'm not a sort of shamer, and I don't like bullying, and I'm careful with my voice. I'm careful not to bully, but I feel strongly that was the right thing to do. I mean, the letters, I mean, you wouldn't believe the stuff people write to me. It was a very, very shameful time in Australian history.
Larrikins.
Yeah.
Now, so just correct me if I'm wrong. So Larrikins was the thing that never happened.
Yeah.
So you go and move your family to Los Angeles, and this was the big deal, and you work on this for years.
Yeah.
And it's all go until it isn't.
Yeah. So this is an animated musical, outback Australian, a bilby and a kangaroo and a cane toad go on a big journey to save the empire of the wind, right? Epic thing, $90 million. I moved my family to direct it. I wrote the songs and I was acting in it. And Hugh Jackman, Jackie Weaver, Ben Mendelsohn, Naomi Watts, Margot Robbie,
it's all set.
Unbelievable. We went 5 years since I got involved. Sacrificed everything, gave up my comedy career, and then Universal Pictures a few months ago bought DreamWorks and just killed it dead.
How did, I don't want to dwell on negatives, but literally, How did you find out? Did they ring you?
Yeah,
or-
they rang me. I was actually in Dubrovnik playing Friar Tuck in a Robin Hood movie. The trouble is I do try and do too many things. So I was like, at that point, directing. I had a co-director and I was, I had an assistant and an iPad and I was like doing all my directing remotely, checking in on sequences. But it was already half animated. I mean, the thing was on its way. And Hans Zimmer was doing the music with me. It's insane. And but Universal Pictures, all they do these days is like buy other people's intellectual property and make crap sequels.
But
I mean, they do good stuff
so
as well.
the call came out of the blue, literally. So no indication.
No,
no,
I knew. I smelled it.
did
Yeah, no.
you?
As soon as Universal bought DreamWorks, it was on the block. But I just didn't believe it. I didn't believe they'd do it. I just went, well,
my
no.
God.
I've always thought if you're passionate and you care about the work, I've always found that in my life, even in Broadway's pretty brutal place. And I've just found that if you really care and you act with integrity, I don't want to be too holier than thou, but I really just go, if you just are good to people and you respect your artists and you care about, it'll come good. And honestly,
Jeez.
It has really battered me. Like
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
who wouldn't it? Thank God you got Matilda.
Yeah, well, I've got so many wonderful things, but when someone like me, all I want to do is work and make stuff. And when someone takes that much work away, it's like, it's very hard to contextualize it's hard for me to get it
I'm
right
not
in
surprised.
my brain.
Well, listen, have a great stay in the country. Good luck
Thank
with
you.
Matilda. I'm sure it'll be a smash hit.
I can't wait for it to get here. Honestly, I feel like it really does belong here. And it's brilliant that it could get here because some of these big musicals don't, because it's hard. They're big and expensive. So you have to go and see it. Go and see Matilda. It's really good. It'll make you laugh.